1,200 kilometers off the coast of Mexico lies a lost and little-known island, Clipperton, a tiny atoll whipped by winds and battered by Pacific breakers. Explorer Jean-Louis Etienne set sail to discover this unique ecosystem. He and his family, along with an international team of scientists, will live on the island for 4 months. Within a few days, a small village springs up on the ring of coral. The 40 scientists get down to exploring the unique biodiversity of this special island, the island at the end of the world. The island of Clipperton emerged from the sea 50 million years ago. Then it was a lifeless piece of volcanic debris, simply a lump thrown up from the inferno below. Little by little, a few plant and animal species succeeded in establishing themselves here. The scientists want to examine how this progressive colonization took place. Clearly, the tens of thousands of birds made their own way here. They came across the island in the course of their migration and found it to be a welcome stopover point, free from predators. Here, they could reproduce in peace. So they landed here, bringing their parasites, and contributed to the dissemination of other species. The wind also carried grains and pollen, which Jean-Louis Etienne collects every week. The presence of land crabs is more of a puzzle, though. How did they land here? In fact, their larvae can survive in salt water and came from nearby archipelagos. But there's more life hiding elsewhere. Ivan Inich is a herpetologist, a reptile specialist. He sets off hunting, searching the expanses of dead coral that form the atoll. In less than an hour, Ivan has found his first species of lizard. The color of the small skink intrigues him. It's as black as the old coral of Clipperton.
We're going to try to find out if the little skinks live in the coconuts. Since it's a cloudy day and not good for lizard activity, they'll be hiding. We'll probably find some of them scattered about in the coconuts. The problem now is to find some coconuts that have been brought back by the waves from the coconut groves, which are much further away. Look, there's a lizard. That's great. I've got him on the screen. Brilliant. Normally, that species stays in the chunks of coral you see round and about. But now and again, when there's a coconut available, he makes the most of it. That's absolutely great. You can see him really, really well, just resting. The light doesn't seem to bother him at all. It's like a little house. It protects him from the sun, from the wind, and from the rain. It's also protection from the crabs, because the crabs can't get in.
Could this lizard's black skin be proof that it has adapted? Is it camouflage against the crabs or just protection against the sun? Ivan pursues his investigation. One thing is for sure, these lizards' ancestors came from a long way away. Just as the wind enabled birds, pollen, and grasses to travel, the sea also can be a powerful disseminator of species. Most of the Pacific islands have been colonized thanks to the ocean's currents. The island of Clipperton is no exception. The lizard's ancestors arrived from Asia on rafts of greenery, vegetation uprooted by storms and cyclones, driven by the North Equatorial Current, which, after hitting Central America, turns and sweeps the island of Clipperton. The crabs came from nearby. The current carried them from the Revillagigedo Islands, where their genetically close cousins live. The atoll is not rich in life, but it is still young geologically, and perhaps one day many other species will come and colonize it. The currents don't only bring plant and animal species to Clipperton, they also bring the rubbish people thoughtlessly chuck in the sea. Gerard Gauvin, the expedition's fixer, has volunteered to clear this rubbish from several kilometers of coast. He sets aside 1 hour every morning for this task, just enough time to advance a few meters and fill some huge sacks that later will be taken to the mainland by a ship of the French Navy. Unfortunately, only 10% of the plastics can be recycled, the rest being too badly damaged by the sun's ultraviolet rays. While waiting for it all to be cleaned up, the island's creatures make the best of the situation. A rocky peak, the only vestige of the volcano which gave birth to the island, dominates the atoll. This massive rock, battered by winds and spray, is very eroded. Standing at the water's edge, heated by the sun and soiled with bird droppings, it has organic matter, shade, humidity, and heat, the best conditions for the development of life. An ideal place for Ivan to continue his studies.
Look, it's lost its tail. You can see the tail moving all on its own. Quite impressive. It moves all on its own. It's a means of self-defense. Look, there's another one. It's not the one without the tail. It's a baby. The discarded tail is still moving. Because it's moving, it attracts the attention of the predator, and that allows the lizard to escape while the predator is drawn to the moving tail. It'll be fascinated. It will watch the tail moving very rapidly for 5 to 10 seconds, which is long enough for the lizard to escape. Later, the tail will grow back again, but it won't be the same as the original one, not at all. The original tail is made of vertebrae, while the tail that grows back is entirely made of cartilage.
Jean-Louis Etienne hasn't mounted this expedition so that the researcher's studies end up in neatly stacked files, dusty theses, or specialized scientific publications. He wants to pass on knowledge, to be a mediator between the scientific world and the general public. His aim is to inspire people, especially children, to marvel at our planet and to protect it. Occasionally, he joins the scientists in their investigation of the atoll's ecosystem. When he comes across Ivan, Jean-Louis learns that the lizards here have adapted perfectly and owe their survival to the presence of the birds.
So the species has become totally Clippertonized then?
Absolutely. The species has completely adapted to Clipperton. It's absolutely amazing. I already admired these lizards before because they're real biogeographic specialists and have colonized the most isolated Pacific islands. But here on Clipperton, the species has taken yet another step forward. It's adapted to a completely different ecology from that of the populations found elsewhere in the Pacific, because this lizard lives on the seashore, but its ancestors never lived on the seashore. On the other hand, in French Polynesia, there's another species that lives partly on the seashore. So not only has it adapted to a particular ecology, it has profited from a vacant niche, the niche that was free here, the available habitat, the seashore, because that's where the food is, bird ticks for the most part.
Evidently, the lizards of Clipperton need not fear predators. The masked boobies are seabirds. They eat fish. As for the crabs, they have plenty of food from the bird carcasses that litter the 2 square kilometers of the island. The black skinks that Ivan found are diurnal, that is, they hunt during the day. However, previous expeditions have recorded seeing a gecko, a reptile that is active at night. Ivan wants to find it and identify it.
Oh, this is really very, very nice. A lovely spot. I really like it, especially at night. During the day, it's the skinks that are active, and the geckos hide in cavities like this. Once night falls, it's the other way around.
In this rocky environment where food is scarce, only compatible species can cohabit. At last, Ivan logs the second reptile species on Clipperton, a gecko, also originally from Asia. It is blinded by the lamp, which makes it easier to capture.
The gecko is capable of shedding its skin as a defense mechanism. These scraps of skin have left its flesh exposed. It's a means of defense, for example, when a bird catches it. There are no predators here, but there are predators where the gecko originated. It sheds its skin to defend itself and escapes from the very mouth of the predator. The skin grows back very, very quickly. In a space of 10 or 12 days, the skin is almost complete again. It's another natural reflex the geckos kept, even though there are no predators here.
The next day, Ivan conceals 20 strips of glue to trap the insects that scuttle about in the shade of the coral banks. Maybe these are the lizard's prey. On Clipperton, they're probably at the bottom of the food chain. On a nearby beach, volunteers help Gerard collect the washed-up rubbish, a never-ending task because the waves wash up more every day. Pascal, the cook, regularly joins in collecting the tons of plastic lying around. He's a natural beachcomber and discovers more and more packages which are identified as containing cocaine. Traffickers on the point of being caught probably threw the drugs into the sea. The small packets are generally weighted with layers of salt which make them sink to the sea bottom out of sight of the customs officers. When the salt dissolves, the packets rise to the surface and float, and the traffickers only have to follow the currents to pick them up again. Pascal goes off to inform the island's authorities, in this case, Jean-Louis Etienne. It's the third time in a week that someone has found drugs on the atoll's beaches.
Your attention, please. If you're after icing sugar, it's on me.
A new dealer.
They're not the same packets.
Black Panthers. That's good stuff, that is. Hey, Pascal, would you mind telling me why this packet's been cut open?
Although the team jokes about it, the drugs are a serious problem, and another sign of how the negative aspects of modern life are encroaching even on this remote island. If crabs and birds have colonized Clipperton naturally, other more harmful species have arrived by following man. During previous expeditions, such as the American military mission which established a base here in the Second World War, pigs, hens, and donkeys have been brought to the island. These domestic animals have now disappeared. Only the rats remain. Scientists Michel Pascal and Philippe Orvelec are trying to eradicate them. But the thousands of traps will not be enough. The rodents, which came off a ship that ran aground at the end of the 1990s, have proliferated and infested the whole island, from the coconut grove to the rock. The list of the island's invaders is still not complete. The expedition's entomologist, Romain Dubois, is on the track of the insects, cockroaches, mosquitoes, and mites. Among these vermin, the smallest is the fiercest. It's a vampire. It attacks humans as well as birds. It sucks their blood and infests their plumage. It's the avian tick, and Clipperton itches. The entomologist's search often goes on after nightfall. Some insects only come out at night. The first ones, and the most numerous, are the cockroaches. Parasites which travel with humans, go everywhere they go and eat anything. The cockroach is one of the few animals that could survive a nuclear war. In the canteen, Ivan Inich shows off his latest discoveries. He also reassures the islanders. He can confirm that there are no snakes on Clipperton. Good news for the expedition, since the nearest hospital is 3 days away by boat. The laboratory is open 24 hours a day. Romain has caught lots of insects, bugs, spiders, mites, and ants, responsible for the holes in the clothes of the atoll's inhabitants. He finds there are no mosquitoes, no doubt because of the wind and the tropical storms. But he also discovers 2 bloodthirsty pests. A type of crustacean living in the lagoon which bites the skin and sucks the blood of the first bather to venture in. And the avian tick, seen here with its discarded skin, a dust mite whose bites cause itching and seeping wounds. Computer expert Camille Fresha sets up a satellite connection with the Natural History Museum in Paris.
Mainly there are cockroaches, cockroaches the size of your thumb. I think I've been bitten by a centipede and it's pretty painful. There are quite a few ants, and as you said just now, there are no poisonous animals, luckily, except for the centipede I just mentioned, but that's not too worrying. There are no snakes on Clipperton, for example. There are no mosquitoes.
Elliot, Jean-Louis' son, Pascal the cook, and Benoit Turlet, one of the sailors from the yacht that's put in, help Gerard to clean the beaches. Despite their daily efforts, it will be impossible to clean them all in the 4 months they are on the island. Pascal organizes a fashion show with the stuff he's collected. He calls it the Rubbish Collection. Toothbrushes, combs, cloth, toys. The beach is like a flea market. Pascal improvises a different get-up every day. Pans, clothes, planks, buoys, nets. Clipperton's got everything you need for dressing up, building, and playing.
We burst a tire.
Ivan, the herpetologist, goes on trying to identify different species of lizard, this time in the coconut grove. Strangely, he doesn't find a single specimen.
Well, when the lizards arrived, I'm talking about the little skink endemic to Clipperton called Emoia arendelli. When it arrived, there weren't any coconut groves. So this lizard had to make do with what he found here. That is to say, coral, coral, more coral, and seabirds. Huge numbers of seabirds. His ancestors, who came to colonize this atoll, originally lived in coconut groves. But when they arrived here, they couldn't find any. So they had to make do with what was here. That is to say, the coral. That's why this lizard is adapted completely. It has evolved to occupy the niche that was available. The piles of coral and a profusion of seabirds. And the only plentiful supply of food was rats and insects, but mostly avian ticks.
So it's thanks to the birds that the lizards have survived. Ivan collects the glue boards he put out the day before.
It looks to me like it's mostly crab droppings.
Apparently, very few animals have got stuck, but all the boards must be examined under a microscope to determine the density of insect life in the mazes of coral. Ivan finds an average of 5 insects on each glue board. By dissecting a dozen lizards, he can define more precisely the small reptiles' feeding patterns. This one contains a small spider, an earwig, and no less than 16 ticks, their principal food. Their supply seems inexhaustible on Clipperton, which boasts the world's largest colony of masked boobies, 120,000 birds. Ivan explains to Jean-Louis the mutations which the skink has undergone. Even the lizard's black coloring can be explained by the theory of evolution.
It's only on Clipperton that these completely black specimens are found. This one has pigments called melanin which come to the surface of the skin. It's very, very dark. It hasn't a single visible golden mark left. As for melanin's purpose, there are 2 theories. The first one is not very likely. One could imagine that this lizard has been on Clipperton for a long time, and that at a certain point in time, when it arrived, due to volcanic activity, all the rocks were black. So the lizard adopted this coloration to protect itself, to camouflage itself among the rocks. But in fact, as there are so few predators, this is not very plausible. The second hypothesis is that this coloration helps protect it against the very strong sun.
A helicopter has taken off from the Périol, a French Army frigate, on patrol in the Pacific. The ship has to watch for illegal fishing boats. Today, its mission is more symbolic. The Périol's crew are coming to mark French sovereignty over the island and to help the expedition get rid of some of the rubbish. Jean-Louis Etienne visits the crew, and after consulting the High Court in Paris, hands over around $6 million worth of cocaine to the commander. The island has no protection against a visit by the drug traffickers, so it's better to get rid of this dangerous booty.
We thought we'd made an important discovery, but we have an American here with us who says the last time they came, they found 32 kilos.
On the bridge, the plastic rubbish sacks are mounting up. Crabs caught up in the rubbish have also made the trip to the boat. After this symbolic operation, the island still isn't clean. It's estimated there are still 60 tons of rubbish strewn over 2/3 of the beaches. Over thousands of years, plant and animal species have colonized this lost little patch of land. For Jean-Louis Etienne's expedition, it's ideal terrain for observing how the species react to one another and how they achieve a certain equilibrium. But what will become of Clipperton? A verdant paradise with a biodiversity as rich as a Polynesian island, or an open-air rubbish dump populated by rats? This atoll in the Pacific will be a clear indicator of our ability to contain the pollution which at present is choking our planet.